Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my UFC 143 review for February the 4th, 2012, aka Super Saturday. The good news and the bad news. The good news is, unlike UFC 142 in Brazil, there was not a lot of first round knockouts. Mostly all the fights went the distance. 3 rounds, one went 2, and the main event went 5. The bad news is, even if all the fights mostly went off 3 or 5 rounds, there was not enough eventful moments to make it a good, decent pay-per-view. The last 3 UFC pay-per-views in my mind, UFC 141, 142, and 143, have not been okay. At least 142 was somewhat exciting with some okay moments and fights, but this card tonight, it's not that good of a card when the co-main event's better than the main event. The main event was just kind of a mixed bag, kind of a mixed bag, kind of a somewhat controversial decision in some people's minds. Because one guy basically ran. He had a game plan on avoiding stuff, and he got the victory, which I'll explain a lot as we go down to it. My last couple UFC pay-per-views, I've not rated a UFC pay-per-view more than 6.5 in the last 3 pay-per-views, and the tradition stands. 6.5 out of 10 for this pay-per-view tonight. Let's go down the card with our first fight tonight, which was in the middleweight division. It was Ed Herman taking on Clifford Starks. Now, this fight, the first round was just, it was like the first 2 fights tonight was great. The first 2 fights were mostly stand-up fights, and this fight, Starks had some great right hands, some great punches, some great kicks. Not a lot of takedown attempts, but there was a takedown attempt at least in the second round, with Ed Herman getting the victory by submission in the second round. And so Herman was out of the UFC for a while due to injuries, and he was back. And this fight was just a decent fight to begin the fight tonight. Kind of a sign of things that comes as okay fights. 2.5 out of 5 for this fight with Ed Herman getting the victory. Like I said, okay striking matches. Striking matches somewhat are exciting, but in some striking match cases, you're just okay, not that eventful. So 2.5 with Ed Herman getting the victory by submission. Second fight tonight, which was in the bantamweight division, it was Scott Jorgenson taking on RENAN. Now this fight, like I said, another stand-up fight, like I mentioned, with Scott Jorgenson taking control. I thought that Jorgenson was going to win, but we know BARAO got his 18th win in a row by defeating Jorgenson. BARAO had some good punches and stuff. It was like I guess mostly strike matches, mostly punches and kicks, and BARAO got the victory. I thought Jorgenson might have won, but it was BARAO who got the victory. Great kicks and stuff. Of course, BARAO is getting himself a little bit closer to getting a shot against the reigning featherweight champion, which is Dominic Cruz. Here he may end up facing, before he faces BARAO, if he does, he'll probably face up against Uriah Faber again, because I'm hearing Faber and Cruz may be coaching the next Ultimate Fighter. So, victory for RENAN, 2.5 out of 5 for this fight as well. Now, on to the fight, which is probably, in my mind, probably the worst fight tonight. It was Josh Coscheck taking on Mike Pierce in the welterweight division. Of course, Josh Coscheck was originally signed to face off against Carlos Condit in this pay-per-view. But we don't know Condit was in the main event, which I'll get to in a moment. So Coscheck fought Pierce, and this fight was just stormfast. It was just nothing exciting at all. It was nothing eventful in this fight. It was mostly like evenly. It was mostly another striking match, but it was nothing eventful. They're both striking, trying to fight for position, but it was just too evenly. No one guy took advantage in this fight, and it was Josh Coscheck in the victory by unanimous decision, not unanimous, split decision. It was not the okay of a fight, and they were booing the hell out of Coscheck. And I've said in the past that Coscheck, you had 2 of the cockiest motherfuckers in the entire history of UFC tonight. You have Nick Diaz in the main event, which I'll get to, and Coscheck, who's also, those 2 are probably the 2 most hated guys in UFC. Probably Koscheck's number 1. And Koscheck's proud of it. And Coscheck got booed out the building, and especially won. He's made a comment to the crowd. He said, "You know what? I'm the most hated man in MMA, But find a way to win. Deal with it. He was like avoiding the fans. He didn't care what the fans had to say. It's all about him. He is, like I said, a cocky little bastard just like Nick Diaz. I'll explain more about Nick's cocky attitude in the main event. Like I said, Coscheck won, but it was not an eventful match. 2.0 out of 5 for that fight with Coscheck winning. And if Coscheck wants to face GSP again, dream on. Especially after the last time GSP beat him up, his eye was swollen. So I don't think Coscheck should even inspire himself to even think about another fight with GSP, especially if he has a fight to win on the interim welterweight title match, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, co-main event. And I thought this co-main event was going to suck, but actually, it sucks for me to say it. I can't believe I'm saying this. The co-main event was better than any of the fights tonight. It was at least exciting enough to at least salvage okay pay-per-view, but still not enough to save as a whole. It was in the heavyweight division. Warren Nelson against Fabricio Werdum, fighting in the first time in UFC in a long time. Of course, Fabricio defeated Fedor by submission. Because I don't watch Strikeforce that much because I don't have Showtime. I thought this fight was going to suck because I'm not the biggest Warren Nelson fan. I'm just not a big fan of his. You know, especially he lost to the current UFC heavyweight champion, Gio Dos Santos. But his fight was somewhat exciting because Fabricio just beat the crap out of Nelson, giving him big knees in the at least 4 big knees. I bet you Warren Nelson's got a broken nose tonight. His face was just all bloodied up. And I'll give Nelson credit. He had a lot of heart. He kept fighting. He did not go down. You know, those 4 knees were just big knees by Fabricio. Just beat the hell out of Nelson. And Nelson did not give up. Nelson was fighting most of the... He did not give up. He wouldn't go down. Fabricio was giving it to him, and Nelson just kept getting back up and punching him and fighting for all he's got. But in the end, it was a unanimous decision victory for Fabricio Werdum. And I think Fabricio's got a big opportunity ahead of him. I bet you he will probably get a shot against Gio Dos Santos. I don't think he'll be the first guy to get a shot against Julio, but at least get a couple more big wins, especially if he beats people like Frank Mir or beats people like Cain Velasquez. That would be great. If Werdum can beat Velasquez, he deserves a shot against Junior. He'll probably get it, but not soon. He has to work on it, but at least Werdum has an opportunity. He's got potential on getting a shot, especially after his performance against Nelson tonight. So it was a 3.0 out of 5. The only fight, well, besides the main event, to get a 3.0 for me. Now on to the main event. It's going to get a lot of mixed response from everybody. It was for the interim welterweight championship. It was Nick Diaz taking on Carlos Condit, former Strikeforce champion against a former WEC champion in welterweight. We all know the story. Back in October, it was supposed to be Diaz versus GSP. Diaz no-showed the press conferences. And then Condit was inserted in against GSP, with Diaz filling in for Condit against BJ Penn. Then GSP was injured. Condit waited out, while Penn and Diaz went on as planned. Diaz got the victory over Penn, and Penn retired. Diaz called out GSP about his injury, and GSP wanted Diaz so bad that Carlos Condit was about to sit out, and it was supposed to be GSP Diaz tonight. However, GSP got injured again, so it was Diaz and Condit tonight. Here's my humble opinion of tonight's fight. It wasn't the fight it wasn't the fight I was hoping for. It wasn't the exciting fight. It was just, let me say this. They didn't even touch gloves. You can tell it was going to be exciting when they didn't touch gloves and they were like nose to nose, and security was trying to back them off when they were doing the rules by Steve Mazzagatti. And Nick Diaz is, like I said, he's one of the cockiest motherfuckers. He kept taunting Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit had a game plan. Diaz just came in there beating the crap out of Carlos Condit. Now, there's fights I don't like. These fights that are fighters trying not to lose fights. Especially the examples of the 2 welterweight fights tonight with Coscheck and Pierce in the ninth main event. They were trying to avoid not losing. That was Condit's game plan. He was running from Diaz. Everyone thought he was just being a pussy. He was putting in Anderson Silva. But Carlos had a game plan. He said that Carlos was trying his best, trying not to get to a slugfest against Diaz, because Diaz is a nasty fighter, nasty puncher, and Condit's more of a submission guy. Although he can knock out people too. But Condit was just avoiding a slugfest with Diaz, and Condit didn't strike that much. It was mostly Diaz being the aggressor in this fight, but Condit, whenever he did strike, he struck effectively. And I know there'll be a lot of people, including myself, kind of stunned by the decision that Carlos Condit won by unanimous decision. At least if Condit did win, at least if he would have won by split decision, that would have been fine. But unanimous decision, it was like kind of a mixed bag, because I know a lot of people, including myself, were like kind of stunned because we saw Diaz as the aggressor. But Carlos had a game plan. He was trying to avoid a slugfest. But in my mind, it was just an okay main event, a 5-rounder, just even a non-title 5-rounder with Shogun and Dan Henderson was better than this fight tonight. You know, not a lot of action. That was the point of this pay-per-view. With the exception of Roy Nelson fight against Fabricio Werdum and the first 2 fights, most of the night, there was a lot of action tonight. Especially this is Super Saturday after all. Day before Super Bowl, we gotta get pumped up for it. The night's pay-per-view was just okay tonight. Especially, like I said, the main event was supposed to be hyped up. Like my boys, Public Enemy would always say, don't believe the hype. But like I said, it was just an okay main event. It was a 3.0 out of 5 for me. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag, because I think a lot of people like myself saw Diaz as the aggressor. But I'm looking back on it, and like I said, at least Carlos Condit came in with a game plan to try to avoid a slugfest with Diaz. He was kind of a smart fighter. Sometimes it's not the biggest guy. It's not the guy who knocks people out. It's the guy who's the smartest. And tonight, Condit, like him or not, like his game plan or not, he was the smartest guy tonight by avoiding a slugfest with Diaz. So that means Carlos Condit will get a guaranteed shot against GSP after all. But in my mind, he just won himself a one-way ticket to a GSP beatdown, in my mind. Because I like Condit after all, but GSP's been dominant. He's a dominant champion. He's like Anderson Silva. You can take him down. You can knock him out. You know, I hope, let me say this. I hope GSP's this side of the fight at least more exciting than his fight against Jake Shields. So let me say that. I hope, like I said, this pay-per-view tonight, UFC 143, which is okay pay-per-view tonight. Last 3 pay-per-views for me have not been exciting. Like I said, at least the Nelson Werdum fight was okay, decent enough to kind of make the pay-per-view okay, but not enough to salvage it entirely. Like I said, a 6.5 out of 10 for this pay-per-view. That is it for my review. Thank you all very much. Like this video. Subscribe to my channel and comment your thoughts below. What do you think about Diaz and Condit? Do you think Diaz should have won, or are you happy Condit won? Do you think Condit's going to get his butt whipped by GSP, or do you think Condit's going to beat GSP? Comment your thoughts below. That is it for my review. See you all later. Have a great Super Bowl weekend. And with that in mind, we've all been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you all very much. See you all later, and go Patriots! Yeah!